Here's your question and answers from the biggest jewel thief in the United States. Let's jump right in. Here's a question from @ArchieGameXD. Here it is. Honestly, I'm curious what would happen to people if they were wrongfully imprisoned. Do the prisoners treat that person differently, knowing that he might be released very soon? Absolutely not, actually. Nobody knows. You know, when you go to prison, it's so funny. We used to laugh and say, everybody's innocent when they come in. Oh, I'm innocent, I'm innocent. Well, as a man who worked in the law library, I saw a lot of cases. You do get a sense or a feel if somebody is going to be maybe exonerated, maybe the Innocent Project has picked up his case, and those kind of things. Now, do other prisoners even know about it? Do they treat him differently? No. Usually a person like that is going to be adamant to go to the law library every day, to research his own case, to really get down and dirty into the law books. That's what they need to do. And you'd see them get a lot of law visits, especially if somebody has the Innocent Project or one of the colleges like Barry University in Central Florida has an Innocent Project program that they have, and they go and look for cases. Not so much just innocent, it could be just wrongly sentenced. So there are two things. But do other prisoners treat that person just because he's getting out? No. In fact, you don't want to tell anybody you're getting out, especially if you're in a very high security prison like I was. You're in a maximum security prison, you don't want to tell people who are never getting out, oh, I'm getting out, I can't wait. You don't know what crazy stuff goes through their mind. Good question. Let's jump into question number 2. This question number 2 is from Show Off Video. Asked me, hey Larry, love the vids. Regarding pedophilias, I was wondering what happens to people who went to prison for a revenge crime, such as killing a pedophile that hurt their kids. Basically, someone that had a clean record, then something bad happened to their loved ones and they snapped. Do they get protection, respect, or are they treated the same as others? Here is another obviously question that's kind of tough to answer because you don't get the paperwork. You know, if a person's in prison and he's doing his legal work, maybe that man's trying to fight to get out of prison. So us guys, again, in the law library, we're going to look at his record. I'm going to look up his charge, and it's going to be for a murder. I would end up getting what they call the indictment, and in the indictment it's going to have what happened in that case. Obviously, this man is not going to get disrespected, or this man is not going to be, vilified. There are certain crimes in prison that are respected. Protecting your family in any regard is a respected crime. Hopefully this man will be smart enough to know, and hopefully he's not going to get such a sentence that it's going to equate to a life sentence. Hopefully he's going to get out of prison. Maybe he got a manslaughter, maybe he got something of that nature, a third-degree murder, something that does not carry, 100 years or 50 years or life in prison. But that man gets my respect, because one of the biggest fears of everybody in prison is just that. Something happened to their child while they're in prison. Now, this guy had it happen to him on the outside. Sad that he goes to prison over it, but you can't blame him either. Our next question is from Paulie Wood the Prince. Paulie Wood the Prince asked, Larry, please explain to people who might not understand what's life like when you're out and readjusting to outside life. Wow, that is a loaded question. It depends on a lot of factors. What level prison you came from. Did you come from confinement? That's the hole, the SHU, special housing unit. How much time did you do? If you've been in prison for over a decade and you get out of prison, you're going to have a very, very hard time adjusting. Everyone does. And here's why. The average person today will make 1,500 choices. You're going to get up, you're going to see what you're going to drink, how many cups of coffee, what kind of creamer, on and on. What you're going to wear, what you're going to wear for work, what route you're going to go. You're going to pick somebody up, you're not. You're going to call your girlfriend, you're going to text somebody. There's a zillion things you're going to be doing, or 1,500 choices you're going to make. The average. The average inmate makes 100. You cannot take a person who makes 100 choices and then throw him into an environment that you need to make 1,500 choices. It's called sensory overload. That person is going to have a hard time adjusting to society because you just don't make choices. When I got out of prison, I couldn't order a cup of coffee. I went into a Subway store and there was so many choices on the board, I started shaking. I ended up turning around and went back on the bus. I couldn't do it. It was the hardest thing I ever thought, and I thought, I can do this. I got out of prison. I used to read the newspaper. I was highly educated. I got a degree. And I'm thinking, it's going to be easy when I get out. I'm excited. You don't know because so many things happen. When I got out of prison and Paulie, my friend, got out of prison, what happened to him? He goes to the bathroom and he does not know how to flush the toilet. All you do is walk away from the toilet. He's looking for a button. He does not know how to wash his hands. You put your hands underneath, he's looking for the faucet. So there's so many changes that happen when you do a lot of time. Paulie did 27 years in prison on a 30-year sentence. So even me doing the time I did, 11 years on a 12-year sentence, I had a hard time adjusting. From computers to cell phones to the technology boom from 1996 to 2007 was off the charts. So that's a big problem, adjusting to the outside. But that's a good question. Let's go to the next question. Our next question comes from Sean Stevens, 6281. Thank you for your question. Hi, Larry. Just wondering what happens to high-profile mass shooters or spree killers in prison. I always thought that they stay in protective custody for life. Not true. If you heard of the name of Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer was a mass murderer in Massachusetts and he killed 8 people. He was a cannibal. He ended up going on the yard and he was in prison for about 7 or 8 years and they ended up killing him on the yard. You'd be surprised how many mass killers there are in prison. Nobody just knows about it. I mean, a lot of people have what they call bodies under their belt. Mostly, you hope, are done for business reasons. And of course, I was in prison with Colombian cartel hitmen, mafia hitmen, guys that just had to do things to survive. And that is what happens. So you're around a lot of murderers. Now, when you say a spree killer, if you get somebody who is like the guy named Cruz from the Parkland killings down in South Florida, out in Weston. That guy is going to be in protective custody until they feel he can go on that yard. Here's what happened. The prison doesn't care. They're going to say, yeah, he can go on that yard because they don't care either. And that probably something's going to happen to him. I don't think that man's going to live a long life in prison, Cruz. Either you're going to go crazy for being in the hole that long. One of the hardest, one of the most amazing things I say, I know it sounds crazy saying amazing, was Charles Manson. Literally living until he died up at 80 years old. He was in confinement. How about Silverstein, one of the longest serving inmates in the hole? But I knew people who saw his artwork coming out of the hole and they said he was totally lost it. He went Lulu, and I could see that. Let's jump into our next question. Our next question is from Meow420. I guess he likes cats and weed. Love it. Okay. Hey, Larry. I'm well aware what happens to pedophiles in prison, but have always wondered what happened to the people who deal with those pedophiles. Whether or not they get punished for their actions, whether they are warranted or not. That's a great question. I'll tell you, I never got that question before. You don't see people who overtly know a person's a pedophile and then hang with them. Now, some people might hang with the person because they don't know he's a pedophile, but once he's checked, they call it, and they know it, he's not going to be one. Usually that pedophile on the yards that I was on, which was maximum security yards, he's done. He is not at all going to be accepted. Now, if you tried to help him, give him stuff, give him commissary, do stuff like that, you're going to be lumped into that category. It's kind of like the rat category. The rats, pedophiles, or chomos, or people who support those kind of people. Now, again, I'm not here as a revenge person. I am here to tell it like it is. People sometimes come after me and say, well, Larry, you preach making good choices and not doing nothing and second chances. But listen, that's one of my hard things. That's one of my hurdles to find. I don't know if I could ever get over that hurdle. And at this point, I'm not giving a damn's ass. So that's all I can tell you about that. Jump to the next question. Our next question is from Joshua Schaefer, 7304. Hey Larry, could you please do a video on how does restitution work for people on the inside? Can they still get commissary? Do they have to work in prison industries to pay it back? That is a great question, and I'm going to touch on it a little bit and might do a full video on it. First of all, people who get restitution, myself or whoever it is, in prison, in some state prisons, they actually charge you for the time you do, whether it's $1 a day or $2 a day, and they take that out of the money you receive from people who send you money, your loved one. It's kind of like taxing that person. That person wants to see you do well and at least eat something, and they're taking his money or her money and taking it away. Now, listen, the state or the federal government already gets funding for these prisons to try to make money on this. And now that I know that they get bonuses, these wardens, for saving money in prisons and cutting programs and stuff of that nature, it's really despicable to me that they're doing this. Now, what they do is you might work in what they call prison industries, or in the feds, it's called unicorn. It's slave wages, where you get 30 cents an hour, 12 cents. I think you start at 9 cents or 8 cents an hour. And now they will take your restitution out of your paycheck. There's guys that work in unicorn for 15, 20 years, and they take, every month they take $35, $40 out of his check. Now, it's really a sore spot for me, restitution, because it's like they want to keep their foot on your neck. If you rob a bank and you have restitution of $20,000, that bank already wrote that money off. They're not losing that money. The government lost it, but they're already getting paid. Let's stop putting our foot on people's necks. You're not going to get much out of it. All you're doing is just trying to hurt people. And that's part of the problem with the United States and its penal system. So we need to fix that. That's just touching on restitution. There's a whole bunch of laws on restitution and how they can get it, what they can do to get it. And that is another video. Great question. Next question. Our next question comes from @Brutalesky-Tescu. What can I tell you? You're reading it. How the parole system and laws regarding it have changed over time. In the past, convicts got paroled quite easily after some odd years, even with the longer sentences. Nowadays, it feels like it always at least 85% at minimum to serve. And for lifers with the change of parole, it's super rare for them to ever get released from prison. This is very, very true. The feds have instituted an 85% rule, and that's what it is. You get a 30-year sentence, you're doing 85%. At the best, that's getting 28 days. That's what you can get, 28 days a year of good time. Many times we lose that good time, and that 28 days equals 85%. Now, the law changed in 1986. You know, Ronald Reagan was probably the worst president for our prison system because he changed the game time, they call it. Now, yes, if a person got 10 years, they'd be up for parole at 3 years, and it gave for an incentive to be good. Now there's no incentive to be good. There's no incentive for a person to, try to better themselves because they're going to be old and gray when they get out of prison, especially if they have any kind of a sentence. It used to be where you can actually go off for parole after so many years, even with life. Now they have life without parole. And in fact, in the Federal Bureau of Prisons, there's no such thing as life with parole. If you get a life sentence in the federal system, it's called letters. L-I-F-E. It's literally in your prison jacket. And within that jacket, you will not leave prison until you are dead. Some states have changed the law. I can't go over to them, everyone right now, have changed it back to the old system because they found that doing this hard sentencing has not lowered the crime rate. In fact, it has not lowered the recidivism rate. We are one of the worst countries in the free world with our incarceration rate and our crime rate. So what we're doing is dead wrong. We need to bring back parole. We need to bring back the old law. They need to be more compassionate. And people don't write me and say, oh, you're easy on crime. No, listen, I get it. Trust me, I get it. But let me tell you something. Do you want somebody who is going to get out to have hope? Or do you want him to live next to you, not give a shit, and you're his next victim? Well, I hope you want the person who has hope and he wants to make it in life. They need to bring back and do conjugal visits. They're complaining about rapes and everything else, and they have what they call the PREA, Prison Rape Elimination Act. It's called PREA. They have this act in prison. They don't want to do anything to help a person relieve themselves in some way or the other. As you all know, they put me in a hole for masturbation. Yes, in my cell, in my bed, at 1 a.m, I go to the hole for jerking off. Think of that. Everyone on this video right now watching this video jacks off. I don't know a man who doesn't. So it just boggles my mind that we are so hard on people, and we're doing things to people right now to hurt them in such a way, it makes no sense. Do we want them to be rehabilitated, or do we want nuts out there? Obviously, it looks like we want a bunch of nuts out there, because our system is broke. So bring back parole, bring back conjugal. We never had them. Get conjugal visits, put a TV in a cell, use it for control. So many things they can do. Sadly, they're not. Let's go, move on. Here's our next question. At Logan Bailey Fun with Trains 606. You know, I gotta say something. I love reading the names of the people on YouTube stuff. I don't know where you come up with it, but I read that one. I'd be interested in hearing about what crimes are accepted by convicts in prison. We know what isn't, but I've wondered what is accepted. Or what is the most insane or outlandish crimes you've heard of while in prison? One of the most insane or wildest crimes I heard, I was actually in a county jail and we were waiting. I'm going to the feds. This man was going to the state. And they usually have what they call a federal pod, but this man was juggling fed crimes and state crimes, and he was a chess master. It was wild because I played chess myself, and we had a bunch of boards lined up. I think there were 5 guys. You know, listen, there's some really good chess players in prison. Well, we're lined up playing chess, and this one guy is playing all of us, and he's watching TV while he's doing it. He'd look at the board for 10 seconds, make a move. Next board, make a move. And I'm studying the board, and I think he beat me in 20 moves or less. And this man, we end up finding out, was a Russian guy, and he killed his whole family with an axe. So, I don't know, that's pretty wild. I've seen some wild murders while in prison, but for charges, that was probably one of the worst I've seen charged, or craziest I've seen charged. And that to me is just, I don't know where that even goes on the spectrum. It's just psychopath stuff. I mean, I don't know why you would do that, what your family did to you, how he snapped. But this man's brain in chess, unbelievable. So that's kind of weird. Now, as far as crimes that are accepted on a prison yard, armed robberies, drug dealing, any crime, even against a cop or something of that nature. But the crimes like against an elderly person are not accepted, or crimes against children are not accepted, or rape, even rape regular. Now you'll hear about rapes and they're not as vilified as a pedophile who is having sexual intercourse with a person under the age of 12, the worst of the worst. But you do see most of your crimes that you see, and I say most, whether it's embezzlement and fraud, but you don't see those big fraud cases in maximum security prison. You usually see armed robberies, mega drug dealers, hitmen, I hate to say regular murders. That makes me sound callous. Is there really such thing as a regular murder? I guess there is. In the big scheme of things, it's happening every day. Right now, there's a murder going on. As crazy as that sounds. Think about that. How many hundreds of murders are going on today? Around the country? Forget about it. It's all over the place. Even the ones we don't know. So if you're watching this on a video and you're murdering someone, stop! Larry says, stop! Yeah, it's a little crazy. I just said that. But anyway, it's sad. All right, let's keep it going. Let's keep it rolling. Okay, our next question is from I'm Not Flip Top 7958. Don't know what that means, but I can kind of get an idea. But I'm gonna go half on this. Hi, Larry. I was wondering if there was senior citizen gangs in prison that could consist of old timers. I've seen it in some media, but I feel like it's unrealistic. The other half of this question is about me reviewing another movie. Well, on this one, no. There's no senior citizen gangs. I've seen senior citizens get their ass fucking beat. Whitey Bulger was 80 years old and they stuck a shank in his eye, took his eye out, and they were cutting his tongue out at 80 years old. Listen, prison is about respect, not about age. I don't care how old you are. If you're rolling over my feet in a wheelchair, I'm gonna roll your ass down the fucking stairs, as I did. So, it's all about respect. And there's no senior citizen gang. What is that? The guy's got to take fucking Geritol? I mean, who are they going to fuck with? And what do you mean by gang? You will have old timers that hang with you, and their knowledge is priceless. They might have connections. Some of them have a good way with the other guards because they're older cats and they know how to con those guards. So, you can learn a lot from an old timer. And I only say that because I think I'm an old timer now. But I'm still not in that senior citizen gang. I'm still in the young gang. Let's keep it going. I mean, senior citizens, what do you think? They're suitcasing stuff to bring it in? Who knows? Their ass is probably open. It's going to fall out. Or they're not putting stuff in a Hummel, South Park. So listen, they have knowledge like anybody else, but they don't have a gang, period. Next question. Lloyd Defoe, 27. Okay, Lloyd, what happens to the guys that have a reputation from the street? Hard ass, tough guy, etc. Do they get checked in prison, or because of their reputation, they have some clout already going in? You're getting checked. You'd see kids who come in and they're young kids, they were in a gang. Boy, wake up call. Because everybody in there is a tough guy. Everybody in there is mostly capable of killing you. You know, I often tell young people, you want respect? Go to prison. Because if you bump into someone, you will say, excuse me. Because if you don't, you just might get killed. You don't take the phone. I watched a man get killed on the phone because he hung the phone up, picked it up, and started dialing again when there was a whole line of people waiting. It was on Christmas morning. And another guy went, left the line, got a shank, and killed him on the phone while he was on the phone talking to the family. So, you know, people get checked. Because, you know, I often say, you want to be a tough guy? Go to prison. We'll see how tough you are. You're going to get checked. Age means more than anything. The real tough guys are the silent ones. The real tough guys are the guys who are quiet. And that's the one you're going to worry about. They don't get checked because they don't need to get checked. You come in there being cocky, you're going to leave there in a body bag. Last question for this video is at J-146. I am curious how you'd be treated depending on age, height, and size. For example, if people would try and constantly push you around if you were little, or if they would take no notice of you. Well, answering this question is all about attitude. It's all about your demeanor. It's all about how you carry yourself. You know, there's some things, like I went into a county jail and I hit the biggest guy right in the face. Bam! When you don't go down, I knew I was in trouble. But I had to make a point. In prison, you don't have to do that. That's just, you know, oh, you gotta beat the biggest guy up. No. But it's how you handle yourself. They didn't care if you were a little guy. If you walk with your chin high, you're fucking cocky, they're gonna look at you and say, this kid is a cocky guy. Why? Why is he cocky? They're not gonna just go after you because you're a little guy or a big guy or an old guy. But don't think you get a pass if you're old. You know, old people think, oh, they can get a pass. Even disabled people. Sorry, I told you earlier. I'm not proud of it, but I pushed a guy in a wheelchair down a flight of stairs because he was an asshole and he didn't respect others. Everything is about respect, period. End of story. If I was walking around and I stepped on someone and I didn't say, excuse me, or I bump into someone, I might just get stabbed. I don't care if it's the little guy. In fact, I was more cautious of that little guy. That big guy, I know him. I can look him. I can size him up. It's that little guy that's half crazy that I don't know. That's the guy. You could be an old guy. Listen, they had guys like Nicky Scarfo. Nicky Scarfo was a little old man. That fucker was crazy. That'll stab you quick. Now, if you got that kind of heart, you kind of demeanor, you're going to make it in prison. It's how you handle yourself. It's not how big, small, tall, what color you are. You'll make it. Handle yourself the right way. But to end this video, don't go to prison. Don't make the choice to go to prison, people. It's not worth it. You want to hear stories? I have those. Go check my book series out. Please, Gangster Redemption series. Go check it out. Like, comment. Give me your comments on some of these answers. Also, please subscribe. Hit that notification button. Hit the bell. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day, everybody.